What can transform an ordinary man into a millionaire magnate and, in a matter of days, reduce his fortune to dust? History is filled with fascinating trajectories where wealth emerges like a golden castle, only to crumble like sand between one's fingers. Imagine luxurious palaces, endless banquets, ships laden with treasures, and, soon after, the solitude of cold prisons, public shame, and complete bankruptcy. From merchant empires that dominated oceans to investors who believed they were at the pinnacle of glory, the line separating fortune from ruin has always been thin, and often invisible. Have you ever wondered why some fortunes disappear overnight? Or how miscalculations, overconfidence, or sheer ambition brought down dynasties and powerful men? In this video, we will explore stories of wealth and bankruptcy that marked eras, revealing the secrets, lessons, and ironies behind these destinies. Stay until the end because you will discover that when it comes to money, the abyss between success and disaster may be just one step away. Humanity has always been fascinated by stories of rise and fall. The allure of wealth inspires desire, but it is the sudden downfall that makes us reflect. To understand this cycle, we need to go back in time when empires rose on the basis of incalculable riches and fell with crashes that echo to this day. In ancient Rome, for example, entire families amassed immense fortunes through the trade of slaves, spices, and land. Luxurious mansions, golden mosaics, and extravagant banquets displayed a power that seemed almost limitless. But it took just one lost war, a poorly calculated debt, or a change of emperor to reduce these families to complete ruin. Yesterday's glory could turn into today's shame. Centuries later, the same pattern repeated itself with the merchants of Venice and Genoa. These men dominated the seas with ships laden with silk, spices, and gold, transforming their cities into financial powers. However, unexpected storms, pirate attacks, or simple market price fluctuations could ruin entire lives in a matter of weeks. In the modern era, the advent of stock exchanges multiplied both opportunities and risks. One of the most emblematic cases is that of the South Sea Company in the 18th century. Promising unlimited riches through trade between England and the Americas, its shares attracted investors from all social classes. The enthusiasm was so great that even nobles mortgaged their lands to buy the company's stocks. At its peak, it seemed that fortune was within everyone's reach. But when reality knocked on the door and the profits did not materialize, the bubble burst. Thousands lost everything, and the bankruptcy even dragged down influential politicians. These initial examples illustrate how wealth and bankruptcy often go hand in hand. It's not just about currencies, ships, or stocks. It's about trust, collective illusions, and often a blindness to warning signs. If we look at the present, we realize that the lessons remain the same. Who hasn't heard of investors who amassed fortunes with cryptocurrencies, only to lose everything in precipitous drops? Or entrepreneurs who built digital empires just to see them vanish in the blink of an eye? Ultimately, the story of wealth and bankruptcy is the story of how human ambition can both build and destroy, and how financial fate can change in an instant. Each tale of wealth and bankruptcy leaves deep marks, not just on the protagonists, but on entire societies. The case of the South Sea Bubble didn't just ruin English families. It cast doubt on the financial system itself, forcing governments to rethink laws and regulations. The lesson? Excessive confidence can erode even the most solid structures. In the 20th century, we saw even more dramatic examples. Consider the Great Depression of 1929. Wall Street, once a symbol of prosperity, became a stage for despair. Men who owned mansions, luxury cars, and thriving businesses found themselves bankrupt overnight. Images of investors throwing themselves from New York buildings became icons of an era when wealth evaporated like smoke. And it's not just the rich who suffer in these downturns. Every large-scale bankruptcy has collective impacts. Families lose jobs, entire cities collapse, and governments are forced to intervene to contain the chaos. The bankruptcy of major banks in 2008, for example, led millions of people to lose their homes, jobs, and savings. The crisis wasn't just about numbers. It was about lives, dreams, and dignity. But there are also individual stories that reveal this duality. Howard Hughes, the American magnate who dominated the aviation and film industries, amassed one of the largest fortunes of his time. However, his obsession and personal problems led to an isolation that consumed him slowly. Wealth didn't protect him from emotional bankruptcy. Another example is that of European aristocratic families who, for centuries, controlled vast lands and riches, only to lose everything in revolutions, wars, or economic changes. What once seemed eternal proved to be fleeting, reminding us that fortune and power are fragile constructs. And if we look at the present, the stories continue to repeat themselves. Tech billionaires can lose billions in a few hours after stock market drops. Once seemingly invincible companies like Lehman Brothers crumbled like sandcastles. The pattern is always the same: excessive confidence, lack of caution, and the inability to predict the unpredictable. The impact of these stories is not merely economic, it is also psychological and cultural. They shape our perspective on what constitutes wealth, success, and failure. They prompt us to question, to what extent are we secure in our own financial comfort? In the end, each development reminds us that the line between fortune and bankruptcy remains as thin as it was in ancient times. Stories of wealth and bankruptcy are, above all, human stories. Behind astronomical figures, luxurious castles, or financial reports, there are people with dreams, fears, and ambitions. The ascent to the top brings glory and prestige, but the fall is always brutal, revealing the fragility of systems and individuals. From the Roman Empire to the digital age, we have learned that wealth is not a fixed destiny, but a transient state. Fortunes can arise from the vision of a daring merchant or the genius of an inventor, but they can also vanish due to wars, crises, or simple miscalculations. What can we truly learn from these stories? First, that the pursuit of wealth requires caution. Unbridled ambition can spawn innovation, but also catastrophe. Second, that true financial security lies not only in numbers, but in the ability to adapt to change. And finally, that wealth without purpose can turn into emptiness, while bankruptcy can, paradoxically, be the starting point for new beginnings. Today, more than ever, we live in an era of extremes. Billionaires emerge overnight with digital startups, while others lose entire fortunes on risky market gambles. Technology has accelerated possibilities, but also intensified risks. History repeats itself on a global scale, and we continue to be characters in this timeless drama. Perhaps the great reflection is this: wealth and bankruptcy are not merely destinies, but chapters in a larger narrative. They remind us that nothing is permanent, not absolute success, nor complete failure. And you, have you ever stopped to think about how you would manage a sudden fortune? Or how you would rise after an unexpected bankruptcy? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if this journey through stories of wealth and bankruptcy has piqued your curiosity, subscribe to the Enriching World channel, turn on the notification bell, and continue with us as we explore the secrets of money, power, and history. Because, in the end, the greatest lessons are not just in the fortunes amassed, but also in the ruins left behind.